So thank you, Fayo, for being here. We are in this extended online festival from Creating Visibilities. Today is already the 10th of September. So for information and clarity, this thing is happening after the dates we organized this festival. And it's due to many different reasons. One of them, there was a band strike that we tried to make, if possible, to every person to go safe and in time home. And that's why we skipped the last day of our festival when we were all together. And that's the reason why we had to postpone this talk with you, Fayo. But we're very happy that you're here, and then we're going to be having some nice talk with you. So first thing first, welcome. And would you like to say something about yourself? Like, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Alexis. Thank you for having me, even though I couldn't be there and it was a bit delayed. I'm very happy I'm here, and thank you for inviting me. My name is Fayo Said. I'm from the Netherlands, born and raised there, and student, I'm a photographer, and the last year I've been going more into researching and archiving. So this is kind of the context of what I will speak about, because obviously curating in visibilities and the archiving of like so-called minorities, something that is a big topic in the work that I do. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so then let's go to it.
I'll share the screen. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just reintroduce myself. Okay. Quickly, I'll introduce myself. My name is Fayo Said. Like I said previously, I am a photographer, mostly film photography. I also am an archiver student and researcher. And in my work, I'd like to focus on the empowerment of Black communities, which you will also see throughout the projects. And today I would like to talk to you all about the importance of archiving for so-called minority communities, in this case, mostly only Black communities, actually. Because for the last year, throughout the projects that I have done with ASPA, the Association for Black Artists, kind of a lot of questions about archiving came up. Who is archiving for? Who is a specific archive for? Who gets to archive? Just a lot of fundamental questions about archiving. And I would like to present these, so the questions and challenges and just the work that we have done, because archiving goes throughout all of them. Let me just first introduce the Association for Black Artists. We founded the association last year in June. So we're only a little bit older than a year, not that old. We have 3 working members, 7 members in total, but 3 working members, and I'm one of them. And we have Princella Bija, who is based in Berlin. She's a cultural producer. And we have Marnie Garcia Momart. She is a curator and cultural producer herself. And unfortunately, they're not here today, but that's okay. I will introduce them and their work. So ASPA, what is ASPA? Like I said, we're a relatively new organization, and we grew kind of out of the need for support for Black artists and their work in Europe. So we do this by creating different events and cultural or artistic experiences, I should say. And we work on projects to support and especially emerging artists, not ones that are already established, in different European countries. And at the moment, we're active in the Ruhr area, in Germany, in the Paris suburbs, and in The Hague, and in Berlin also. Now I'll go on to the project. So like I said, in the past year, we've been working on several projects with our collective, and each of these projects have a different focus, but they all help to support Black artists and documenting and archiving Black experiences. So this is the theme I've been talking about on Black archives. So although all of our projects have different focuses, they're kind of somehow all linked together, which we realized afterwards. So basically all of our projects deal with, in some way, with archiving or collecting Black histories, stories, and also the issues and challenges that come with this. So one of the base questions throughout all of our projects has been, how can we store, protect, and preserve artifacts in a way that allows us to actively engage with them? And also, how do we talk about our work? How do we think about our work? These are some of the, questions and thoughts that, and conversations that we've had. So this is on Black archives. Oh, yeah. Then next, the first project I'd like to talk about is Oromia Records. This was founded actually by myself and is supported by ASPA. Oromia Records is a digital art archive for the remembrance and preservation of Oromo culture, history, and art. I myself am Oromo, like I said previously, and I really felt this need to start collecting and displaying Oromo culture. I'll tell you why. Because if you might not be from the Horn of Africa, the context is important. So, like I said, the Oromo ethnic group is a group in Ethiopia, and we have a rich cultural heritage, but at the same time, we're a marginalized group in the country historically. So, for example, under the dictatorship of Haile Selassie in 1941, the Oromo language was banned, including from political life, schools, and the Amharic language, the dominant language, and culture was kind of forced upon Oromo people. So Oromo cultural heritage can take many forms. So it can be music or items like cultural items, photography, film. But the one item that kind of triggered my motivation to do this is actually cassette tapes. So I don't know how it is in other cultures, but obviously in the 60s, 70s, up to the 90s, cassette tapes were very popular, a popular way of enjoying music. So it's the same for Oromo people. Many older, like very classic songs by Oromo musicians, they were not digitized actually. And a lot of these songs are only available on cassettes. So the way this music was shared in Ethiopia and also the diaspora in these times, like 60s to 90s, was by sharing these tapes, sometimes recording someone else. If someone has a special tape with a special song, someone else comes with the empty tape and then, records it like this. Or you're in and you want to just record it, So a lot of these special moments, they're only captured on tapes. So how was this triggered? My dad has a lot of these tapes and I was just going through it and kind of seeing what's on there. I started listening to them and the quality wasn't the best for a lot of these because, like I said, a lot of these are re-recordings and they're not originals anymore. So this kind of triggered for me the question, okay, if it's already like this now, what about in 10 years? What will the quality be like then? Will it even exist? What if this is the only tape, the only version of the song? What if this is the only song left? Or it just felt so scary almost, like so much cultural heritage is on these tapes. and they're not digitized, and they're also not, of course, easily shareable. They're not so accessible. So this, the tapes is kind of what triggered me completely to think about the way we store and protect and preserve cultural heritage. And I also realized through all of this that there was a bigger issue. It's not just about the tapes, or just the tapes of my dad. Like if you look at it from a, if you zoom out, all over the diaspora, so in Europe, the US, Australia, other African countries, a lot of these songs are on tapes, and they were shared like this, you know, throughout in local communities on these tapes. So this is kind of how Oromia Records started. This is why the name is Oromia Records, because I try to, I aim to digitize and organize these records online in order to make them more easily accessible for Oromo communities and also people interested in Oromo culture, and also a way of preserving these songs. Especially if you take into account like the political situation and the efforts of the Ethiopian state to erase Oromo history and culture, we really see how important it can be to protect and preserve and showcase the heritage more, especially because it includes a marginalized groups, right? So it's important, in my opinion, for marginalized people to actually showcase the history. It can be a form of resilience, a form of empowerment. So even by me starting this digital art archive, I've been in contact with so many other Oromo people, artists that are interested in this work and are, you know, so happy and want to help me, and, you know, are very willing, like, oh yeah, I know a friend actually who has other very original tapes, like I can put you in contact. So it's a beautiful way also to strengthen the community, in my opinion. Other than preserving heritage, cultural heritage, I also aim to inform Oromo diaspora about the heritage and support and highlight contemporary Oromo artists, and just in general make Oromo cultural history, heritage more visible online. I will just show you some pictures. So these are the tapes I spoke about in the right corner below. And on the left, we see some cultural items, I would say, items, yes, that I found at my dad's house. He has a lot of these. So the first one is a spoon to eat with. The second one is a way to storage milk, actually, and food. So if you go to a friend's house or a family house, you just bring something, you know, to have with you. And the third one is the same. Yeah, so this is also what I try to do. I'm not only focused on music, I'm also very focused on material heritage, you know, because I hear my dad say this a lot. He got this all in the 80s, late 80s, beginning 90s. And my dad says a lot of the time, they don't make it like this anymore. This is very like traditional. And the ones they make now, it's more made of plastic and not wood and other natural materials. So it's also important to, you know, preserve these types of things, in my opinion. Yes, this is a short video. Alexis, I don't know if we have time to show it. It's 1 minute long.
We definitely have time for that.
Okay. Just let me know if you can hear it or not hear it, sorry. that was a traditional RC song. RC is a clan within the Oromo people. And this is a song or is usually sang during drought. So when it's very dry, and it's basically asking God to let it rain so that the cows can have grass and eat, because the cows are very important, essential part in the pastoralist lifestyle. So farmers, yeah. Let's see. Sorry. Yeah. I would like now to introduce the second project that we have done. It's actually the first project that we did with ASFA. This is called Black Hair in The Hague, Conversations on the Lockdown. We did this in October of 2020. And this hair project is a photographical and videographical project. And it documents some of the experiences of young Black people in The Hague, the Netherlands. And for this project, we interviewed, photographed, and filmed Black people in The Hague with the intention to kind of document how the relationship with their hair has evolved during the lockdown period. So we thought it was important to document this, actually, this particular experience, because this project can be, like in the future, can actually be used as kind of a way to see the experiences of Black people in this particular time. So we understood with this project that the documentation of Black people's stories can be very empowering, since they can no longer be erased, you know, since this is documented, people in the future can always look back to what actually, yeah, how did the relationship between Black people and their hair evolve? Did it change? Did it stay the same? You know, it can be, it's something that's not, in our opinion, or also in my opinion, looked at enough. And we found it very important to do so. Here are some photos actually from the hair project, but I would also like to encourage you to look at our website to see the full project, because we have a whole curated page also with snippets from the interviews, and also quotes from the interviews, and more pictures than here, of course. And we found it also very important that in this project we would use people who have like creative inclinations, but you know, are not daring enough, like me, to call themselves a photographer. I didn't dare to call myself a photographer at this point, but it was a beautiful experience to have with other, you know, starting photographers, and to kind of document this special experience. Also, something fun to say actually is that this project will be part of a traveling exhibition in 2022, next year, with a museum called Friseum, but unfortunately, like the exact dates and cities, venues are not known yet. So now for the third project, this is the research residency of Fazia Jansen. This is an artistic research residency done by Prinsella and Marnie, who I introduced before. They did a 2-month artistic residency on the Black German singer-songwriter and peace activist Fazia Jansen. And this project was supported by the International Women's Film Festival, IFFF, and Intercultuur. This research was of great significance, in my opinion, because a lot of information and histories were kind of collected already on Fazia Jansen. But this was mainly done by white German feminist sources and authors. So Prinsella and Marnie kind of saw this residency as an opportunity to work out how Fazia Jansen's life experiences could be viewed from Black German perspectives. So what they tried to do is find Black people actually that she knew that were in her life when she was still here, and kind of establish a more personal connection, because it was very difficult for them to connect to her through all of these white sources, white feminist sources and authors. So this is what they tried to do. And additionally, they also questioned how kind of Fasia related to her own Blackness and her own struggles, but also global Blackness, and mostly also from a context of Afro-German movement, from the Afro-German movement. And in this case, again, I would like to, talk about the importance, or kind of stress the importance of who does the research and who collects actually and who archives. Because they kind of went a whole different route, because they kind of put her in the context of Blackness, and because this is natural to them, obviously, whereas the white German sources and authors, the questions were very different as to her, or the collections are very different, and just the focus is completely different, So it's very important. I think this shows again how important it is who archives and who actually does the research and who collects material. I would also recommend, if you want to learn more about this research residency, to look up a video that they made for the IFFF, for the International Women's Festival online. There's a video, great video, where they talk about more in depth and better about their own work. Now, about the questions and challenges about archiving. So while we were working on some of our projects, these questions kind of came up. So what is our role in archiving? Who can archive? Who gets to archive? Who is an archive for? When is an archive, because often we see that an archive, like a institutional, white institutional, mostly archive, is seen as an archive, but a lot of people have personal archives, there's people who collect so many things and really collect everything about their life. They have like a life archive. They have pictures throughout, so many years of their lives, or they have journals where they write every day in or every week in, and who gets to actually tell you, oh no, that's not an archive, or that is an archive. So I would, suggest you also think with me about these questions, because these are some of the questions that really came up in our work in the last year. So the installation project is a project that kind of combined all of these questions and conversations that we've had surrounding archiving. The starting point was Prinsella and Marnie's research work on Fasia Jansen, and our questions about alternative forms of archiving and exhibition venues. So that was kind of the starting point, but once we saw that actually all of our projects kind of interlink, or kind of think about archiving as well, we included all of them, which I will show in a minute. So this is an image actually of the installation. As you can see, it's kind of like an, arena. We don't know what to call it, because we don't like to call it an arena, because again, thinking about different forms of actually exhibition spaces, like naming things, is very historical and very, when you say arena, it has immediately already a connotation, and we don't kind of want to do that. So this is the installation project. Don't have a name for it, but as you can see here, the hut, this is where Oromia Records will be. The boxes are for Fasia Jansen. One of them is open, you will see in the video. You can go in there and hear her music, but also her interviews that she did with Tina Kampt, a professor from the US, Black professor. And then on the outside, we have walls with the hair project, with quotes and photos. So now I would like to show you actually a video. Oh, yes. I hope that gave you a better idea of the installation. Because, yeah, I don't know if you could tell, we didn't want to make it a standard exhibition space. We thought it was very important that it's a place to meet. Thus also the Oda tree in the middle. Oda tree is a very common tree in Oromia. So for Oromo people, because this is a place where you gather, sit on the ground, eat, learn, just converse. It's a very like communal space, the tree. So we thought it was important to make it feel like a communal space. There's a lot of seating spaces. If you don't want to necessarily engage with the art, you can just sit and converse with people or just look and, you know, enjoy your time. Now I want to thank you so much for making it, you know, to the end. I want to thank also Alexis and the other people in the team for inviting me to this, yeah, amazing festival, online festival. And yeah, I look forward. If you have any questions, I'm open to it. If you would like to talk, I'm open to it. So thank you again.
Thanks very much, Fayo. This was really, really nice and wonderful.
Thank you.
And there are a lot of ideas like coming to my mind, and a lot of very beautiful ways of seeing things that we see in our everyday life differently. And I thank you for that. I have a couple of questions that maybe we can, like, you can maybe tell a bit more. I mean, one thing when Isaiah Lopez Mohammed and Naomi, we were working together, we were discussing about places of knowledge. And one of the questions that we were asking ourselves is if we try to make the colonial way of creating knowledge, we also ask ourselves what could be places of knowledge. And it's very nicely, one of these places of knowledge that we point at a time were hairdressers. Places where people gather, where people also create community. And a very beautiful way of putting that is also this idea of what the knowledge that is connected to this self-care, or even creating this to cultivate this culture of taking care of oneself. And I would like to ask you if you find something on that way, or was also one of the ideas of this hair project to think about this. Yeah.
Definitely. Firstly, I would like to say I agree 100%. The barbershop, or, you know, my braiding lady, I always go to her. It's always, yeah, conversations are being had, and it can be as immediate as literally knowledge about your hair, but just in general, you know, it's so many stories are always being swapped there. So I agree 100%. That can definitely be seen as a place of knowledge creation. Yes, so the interview questions were very much about self-care. It was, yeah, 100%. It had to do everything with self-care, because especially in the pandemic, like the real lockdown period, you know, it was a very challenging time, I think, for a lot of people mentally, emotionally also, and for some also physically, who got ill, unfortunately. So this is actually what we wanted to find out, like, okay, how did your relationship change? Did you start to do more with your hair? Did you start to experiment? Did you just let it go because it was the last thing on your mind, you know? And we got very different responses. Some people said, yeah, I couldn't be bothered. Like, it was the last thing that I could think about, and I didn't have energy. And I just, yeah, didn't think about my hair, didn't do anything with my hair. Other people were actually more engaging in self-care, because they felt like, I'm home now and I have the freedom to really express my hair the way I want to express it. So if I want to wear braids, I can just wear braids, and, you know, I'm not going to school, I'm not going to work, so it's fine. And other people, like a guy, he said, who was actually Smiley, it's his barbershop. He actually said that he started to experiment. He started to grow his hair out. Usually he always, you know, has short hair. And now he felt like, yeah, now's the opportunity. Now I have the time to do this. I can just experiment more. So it was interesting to see how everyone engaged differently with their hair in such a stressful period.
Yeah, thank you. That's, I mean, I can just think about this similar questions. Yeah, and of course, yeah, and of course, it is really interesting to see and I mean to hear from your perspective, from the Black community, because it's I mean, I think especially living in Europe, this when we go back to the title of this festival, with the idea of invisibilities, it's sometimes not visible how yeah, what happened actually with people that doesn't have like flat hair, and what places or yeah, and I think that's a very a very interesting way to centrate those experience there, and taking and using this experience as a field of reflecting about ourselves or the community from or the places where Black community are gathered, and that's it. And it's, yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have another one, another question, and I'm thinking about how to organize it, that it's nice.
I'm just gonna put this in my
yeah, do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's what another question that we had has to do with of course who has the right to have an archive, or who has the right to have their own culture seen and perceived as an heritage. That's something that is worthy to be in, like, consider heritage, and some that are not. And one thing that we were thinking, or we're talking about also with Mohammed with Ajaini, was this difference between and now I'm going to language, because you also you mentioned somehow also the idea of Oroma the language was not was somehow banned, and then and so I'm trying to go and connect that, and also to your practice. So Mohammed had a very beautiful idea, and especially reflecting on his experience in Germany, when people said you have to learn German. And he said most of the people who tell me that I need to learn this language is people that haven't learned the language. They inherited it. They got it, so they got this language, and they don't know what it means to learn this language. And especially Mohammed, as a person from the Kurdish community, find himself not in the, it was not his experience to be able to inherit his own mother language. Like there was as soon as the person as Mohammed started going to school, start learning Arabic, and I don't want to talk too much about the experience of Mohammed when he's not here, but I wanted to maybe think about how is the work on archiving, especially the kind of things you're doing, also important in regards of, and I would say maybe from another discussion that I got with another colleague and curator Eba Bush, she mentioned like the possibility of having a passive heritage and an active heritage. So would you think that this work you're doing could be a way of claiming your heritage, like being actively doing and approaching and yeah, how do you see feel for you?
Yeah, great question, Alexis. Definitely. I feel so, maybe even more context when this all came up. So growing up, I've always kind of had this trauma of like Oromo people being suppressed in my household. Like I always knew about the political situation. My dad, my uncles, they would all talk about it. So it was always I was very aware of this fact. And I knew always I wanted to do something. I just didn't know how I could help. Like I always thought, yeah, who am I? How can I help? And last year, a very, very prominent Oromo singer, Hachalu Hundessa, he was assassinated. And it was, yeah, a very, very painful moment for a lot of Oromo people, because Oromo music is always has very strong political undertones for freedom and liberation and all these things, right? So him as well, it was a big shock. And I really felt like I really have to do something. And it just came together that I just needed, what can I do? I can actually start with the music, because the music, they already have the messages. I don't have to create a message. There's already messages out there. What I can do is just combine them, or not combine them, but collect them, preserve, like make sure that they're preserved. So to your question, definitely this was 100% a form of claiming my heritage, being more active and engaging with my heritage. But also it feels like almost a protest, you know, like this is my way of actually helping. This is my way of getting this energy also out of me, you know, because yeah, I feel like I've carried this for so long, and now I finally found a way that I can be productive in all of this. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, and for sharing also this. I can think about one approach on resistance or protest, and I like very much that in practice the thing you're doing is not necessarily a protest or a resistance against something, but a resistance that creates something. So your protest, your resistance is creating this archive, creating new spaces. And I think it's really nice to know that we are not necessarily always needing to fight against something, but we can also create something, and it's also a very valuable way of making a protest and resisting.
Yeah.
I think I'll have one last question,
Okay.
and I think we'll go again regarding archiving and who tells the story of whom. So you mentioned, and I would like to go back to maybe that it's maybe a bit complicated, because I heard it's not necessarily the project you have been more involved, but I would like to hear what are your opinions. I will take that as an example, but of course you can talk about other things that have to be with your own experience. The difference, what is very important, the difference that it makes when people from their own community archives or makes the research on prominent people or important I would say events or persons, and being, so I think you say something, I think yeah. So yeah, the important question: who does the research and for who? Would you like to maybe give a couple of more ideas? What is that so important?
Yeah. I think I think it's important because everyone has a position, right, in life. Everyone, several positions, of course, not just one. And I think a lot of times in, you know, academia, there's this idea of being completely objective, and you can be complete, like, even though you're a person with so many positions and specific experiences in particular places, there's always this big idea that you can always be objective, and no matter who does, like, if you're just a good researcher, the research will be good, you know. But I think, for example, the Fazia Janssen residency, it just clearly shows it's different. Like, it really does matter who does the research, because a lot of, yeah, I'm speaking now from just what I heard and what I learned from Marnie and Princella. But the sources that they got, the things that they could find on the internet, in libraries, in archives, were mostly from white Germans, and they would focus always on her feminism. Within her, you know, activism of Fazia Janssen, they would always just hone in on the feminism, obviously also because of the times when she lived, but it would not speak, not one word about her Blackness, you know? So I think a great example is already in the beginning of the 90s, Tina Kampt, I already mentioned her. She's a Black professor from the US. She had a sit-down conversation actually with Tina Kampt, and this was, with Fazia Janssen. And this was a great source for Marnie and Princella to use, because actually for the first time, someone asked Fazia Janssen about her Blackness, because no one asked before. So this was a great, they learned so much through this, how she viewed actually her Blackness. And then they felt like, yeah, we want to know more about this, but we can't find anything in sources. So instead, what we'll do is we'll just research her life, see who the Black people were in her life, family or friends, you know, and contact them and find out then more about who she was, how she viewed her Blackness. She's more than her Blackness, of course, but I think through this, there's more of a holistic picture of Fazia Janssen, because her Blackness is also part of her. Whatever she thought of it, it's also part of, you know, it's one of the positions she took in. Yeah. So I think this is why it really matters who does the research, because it was just not spoken about. It wasn't researched before, because it's probably not anything these previous white authors and researchers thought about, you know. They didn't think about her Blackness, or they maybe didn't care. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that's a very important point, and it really has also to do with how if we're thinking about this idea from post-colonial or decolonial ways of making research, that it really matters, the position, and especially it shows also very well and very clearly how incomplete are the stories that are talking about us, when it's only one part of the society who's writing everything. So that's yeah, we also discuss about this missing parts of the story, and how we can deal with them, and how I think it's a quite clear and nice example why sometimes these parts are missing, because people will not see them, and because it's not belong to their experiences.
Exactly.
Very good. Then I think, yeah, I will have to thank you very much for this wonderful. I mean, it made me think a lot of different things, and I'm very sure that people that are watching this video also have many thoughts, and I will repeat again. I think when we make the whole publication of these videos, we will also make a description, and in the description, your email will be found, so that people can also contact you if they want to know more about your work, or ask you questions about the things you're working on. Yeah. Would you like to have one final word? Or say, or just saying goodbye? That's also fine.
Yes, I would just like to thank you so much, Alexis, and the whole team, Zaya and Naomi and Mohammed. Like, thank you so much for inviting me. I was a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I'm very happy I could share this, and I hope next year I get to see the other presentations live and meet the people, because I feel like it's a lot of even your questions, they're very interesting, and I think we could have very nice conversations on these topics forever. So I hope we can just soon meet all together, and hopefully next year it can be in real life and I can join it. Yeah, so thank you again, all of you.
Thank you too. Yeah, we hope that they would happen differently next year.
Yeah.
And we'll see what the future we're building has for us.
We'll see.
Yeah. Thank you then.
Thank you,
I will
Alexis.
stop our recording now.